What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Jack Ramsays, Danny Marang, Brandon Sprague, back after our usual summer break. The opportunity to get away and decompress post summer league, as the league pretty much goes on a unofficial vacation. Finally, so we're back. We're not back every week, every day. Never gonna be that. Richmond's a monster. If you're actually listening, I think you finish up tomorrow with a week of meringue with Richmond. So, without further ado, though, my co-host Brandon Sprague, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. How we doing with the lettuce is growing out a little long. I'm worried about divorce in the meringue house here, unless your wife likes pulling it. Like I don't know, man. I'm seeing a lot here.
It's iceberg because it's a lot of white.
You kind of look, honestly, like if you brim the hat down and you just right there, and you look down a little bit, you look like the Jeepers Creepers guy.
There you go, perfect.
Like the gray coming out here is just I just want to hear the theme song playing as he hunts the next human to eat.
I mean, it's still dark, but it's getting very long, and my wife is definitely thinking about leaving me. She hates it with the fiery passion of a thousand suns.
So if your wife hates it, usually the wife gets what the wife wants. Like, I was going to shave my head for hood to coast, which is in a week, because I hate running with hair.
Oh, yeah, no, I get you.
And my wife was basically like, yeah, you could do that. You could do that. And I was like, you got it. I'll do a regular haircut. We won't shave the head this time. Understood. Like, I'm surprised you've gotten away with it.
So I haven't gotten away with it. It's just basically angry at me. She said, I'd rather you be fat with short hair than skinny with long hair. So for those that don't know, I made a promise, or I made somebody may or may not have pushed me into, not necessarily a bet, but I bet you can't do it. With that person being Dame. Over, I'm going to grow out my hair until I lose the weight. And I have lost 30 pounds. I just have even more to lose. So
what's the target goal then? 30's pretty good.
I needed to lose 85. So I need to lose another 55 pounds.
About 50. Okay, 50 pounds. Okay.
Yeah, it's still a long way to go. I got my injuries piled up so much, and the last time with everything I put on, between both surgeries, I put on 65 pounds over like 4 years.
Well, you're bedridden for how long? Right.
Between both surgeries, about 4 months. So
4 months of not being able to move much.
2 months each time. And then, mild case of depression. And then, the fun stuff that came along with that. And then learning how to walk both times.
100%.
Super fun.
Well, look.
It's a fun little it's a fun little motivational tactic.
No, I like it. I give you a little grief about it. But, whatever it takes to keep you motivated and to get that target goal, I think is all that matters. And here's the important part. So far as of today, you're not going to be on TV. At least you're not going to be on the Root channel talking about it.
Yeah, definitely not.
Boy, that was some big news.
I could say it now. There was a chance that was going to happen. That didn't happen. And so Root is gone. I wrote about it April 1st. That the Portland Trailblazers were actively searching for ways to move on from Root. I got some pushback from some folks back then. To you guys, kiss my ass. Just full on.
You're going Shaq. Tell me how my ass tastes.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been sitting on this for months, waiting for the official change and kind of how things were going to go, and we still don't have official news. As far as
we don't.
Where they're going.
Yeah.
I think this is a masterful move from the Blazers. And it came out of necessity. I have seen the numbers and what they actually are. I can speak to them pretty clearly. They were absolutely devastated by that Comcast price hike.
Oh, I mean,
as
it killed their audience.
Business Journal has highlighted this new opportunity. So in Phoenix, where the market is, I believe Phoenix is the fifth biggest market in the country right now. Are
they that high?
Yeah. I'll double check it real quick.
I thought Phoenix was in like the 7 to 10 range, but that's fine.
I'm gonna pull up Nielsen's right now.
Yeah.
They're at 11 right now. My bad.
Yeah.
There's been a bunch of changes between Houston, Boston, San Francisco, and Phoenix in the last year. They've gone anywhere from 5 through 11. But point being, in Phoenix, they have already seen an over 90% increase in their viewership in a massive market that already had interest. Got to remember, this was a title contending team 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Fresh off a finals run. So their saturation of the market wasn't anywhere near what they could be.
Yeah.
And you're already seeing that with the Jazz Plus and some of the local stuff that they've done in Utah. And now the New Orleans Pelicans. They have also opted to go over the air. Now, the Blazers, I can say, and I didn't say confidently, they are going to be broadcasting over the air. That is happening. Which partner is still unclear. There are multiple partners on the table they are negotiating with. There are challenges and opportunities to both those partners. And there are challenges no matter what partner they go with. Unfortunately for the state of Oregon, there's a lot of topography. Mountains, valleys, ravines, canyons, high deserts. And that, for over the air, does cause some problem solving to occur. So they're working through that. Those kind of things can help decide who they go with. If one partner already has a built-in streaming capacity with, say, they're already on Hulu, they're already on YouTube TV or something along those lines, that's a kind of a plus in their mark. If they already have a .1, which is what the over-the-air carriers like a Fox 12 Plus or a KGW Plus, those standalones that already exist. I think CW has a CW Plus. Those already exist. So if it went to one of those places, they would have that ability. So this is super, super inside baseball. But I have talked with the highest stakeholders in the organization, and the thing that they just keep telling me over and over and over again is, we just want our fans to be able to watch the games. They've heard you. And I genuinely, wholeheartedly believe that what they want to do is give fans the best possible exposure and experience that they can.
I think
they genuinely care.
I think part of it, they got out of the TV deal, so I think that's an important step for them. And even though, and we'll get to some schedule stuff tonight as well, even though we all kind of agree on what they will be this year, given what's kind of at stake in a different way for them than other teams, I think we just want the access. And so the fact that maybe they know internally what they'll be too, and saying okay, as long as you can access our games, and, it may not be the sexiest thing to talk about a down year from a win-loss perspective, but we all know, talent-wise, there's a ton to talk about with development,
yes,
with fit, with culture, all that stuff. And so I was just encouraged, because you and I have talked about this probably too many times to count off the air. And I just, as a YouTube TV guy myself, I was just elated yesterday that it came out and that finally they're announcing hey, yeah, we're ending this partnership. It doesn't make sense. Now, I'm still curious about other things, and I don't know if there are things that you'd be limited on versus just so many questions that still kind of linger for them given the timeline of this in August. But I know if they end up going back and having a Blazer Vision 1, I really, and I'm not joking here, it is funny, but I genuinely hope they call it Blazer Vision. They were ahead of the game.
I think they
were way
will.
ahead of it at that time.
I genuinely, if it's going to be an in-house program, I would not be shocked if they went with that line, because it's already kind of synonymous with a couple generations of Blazers fans.
Yeah. I think anybody our age and older and even a little younger would probably understand that reference. And the younger crowd, they don't care. They just want the access. I do know from a reference point too, from the streaming, whatever channel they get on, if they also offer their own Blazer Vision, just for a reference, I think Sean put in his story, Utah's is $125 for streaming Jazz Plus. Yes. And Utah's also not going to be a very good team in my mind, even though they signed Laurie.
That price point is very much on par,
about in line
with what
you would expect.
you should expect. So to put this in perspective, like, bad team has streaming package. Tickets are available. So what's going to come in your streaming package? It's going to come with probably like 2 game tickets. It's probably going to come with a t-shirt and a hat. It's probably going to come with like a hot dog and a drink for each of you. Like, you're going to get probably anywhere around like $75 to $90 worth of value for like a night out, right?
Yeah.
Tickets, food, drinks, memorabilia.
Right.
And that alone, like, let's say you pay $120, $125. Let's take $75 out of the deal. You're now paying less than $1 a game for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
I'm not going to poo-poo anybody's financial status and, whether or not that's expensive for you or not. I'm just going to say, on the whole, you can't really be upset about that.
Well, you were still, like, if you were a diehard fan, I mean, look, we got some Stream East people that certainly exist, and so I guess I'm not talking to them, but like for the vast majority of us, you were already paying for a service to watch them already. Mm-hmm. Like, you weren't getting that for free, right? You weren't getting it for $10 a month. So, I think for most of us, it's like, yeah, okay, it could be available with that. Also, if it's on any of the locals, and I know there's part of that conversation too, but like if it is, I'm already set up and ready to go with it. Yeah. So it's just like, I think it's a win-win either way personally. And as a YouTube TV guy, I was just excited to see, like, because I don't have Root, and I'm also not going to be a Stream East guy. I'm not knocking it. I'm just too old and, like, honestly, too stupid sometimes to even bother with it. It's like, oh, I got to X out and redo it again. Oh, I got to X out and do it again. Like, I'm just always screwing up Stream East stuff. So I'm just like, I was just elated that as a YouTube TV guy that we had found like kind of a compromise to it.
Yeah, and as it pertains to the streaming / direct to consumer model, and this is also plays into like the over the air partner, is that they might already have a streaming solution, or they don't, but they're already on YouTube TV. That's kind of what I mean. Like, there's kind of like, you have to sort through how these things work. And another thing to consider is, like, everybody wants to, like, just say, just do this. It is a business. Whoever the over-the-air partner is paying for this.
Yeah.
So they're not going to want, as a business, the Portland TV station X doesn't want to pay Y for the rights to the games, and then also have a streaming service that undercuts them in market. You know what I mean? So there's going to be a balance as far as the business side of things goes.
So would you be saying like X amount of games on a linear channel of some sort while also still offering the stream? Is that kind of what you're getting at?
No. I think you're going to get 70. So this year there's one national TV game. You're going to get 3 in-season tournament games, or 4 in-season tournament games. So you're going to get 77 games that are going to be broadcast. Those 77 games, as I understand it today, would be available on the over-the-air partner and on the streaming package.
Okay.
As I understand it today. Now,
okay.
I'm not writing that it's done, so please do not aggregate or run with that. That's as I understand it today.
Yeah.
That could change. But from that part of things, I've had a lot of people from both in the chat here now and then in general, either through DMs or texts or tweets about out of market. It also depends on where you are out of market. Like, are you in Klamath Falls? Are you in Bend? Or are you in Seattle?
Right.
Like, so if you take Jazz Plus, you can see the map of how far out Jazz Plus goes. I want to say it's like 150 miles, if I remember right. Which goes into other states, but it's kind of
sort of Seattle.
It's kind of gerrymandered. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yep.
Now, would they be willing to do something further? Like, because if you're going over the air in places like Bend or Klamath Falls or what's Pendleton,
mm-hmm.
places that have unique topographical features that might scramble the signal, you might have pockets in the state that the TV over the air provider can't access very well. Like, I know this for a fact. Like, Bend is very, very, very difficult to get to for over the air because it's in between 2 mountains. So streaming is going to be something that you're going to want to focus on in places like that. Now, I don't know which cities and which coastal cities and which inland cities and which high desert cities are going to need those things. but those are the things that they're working through to know how they need to do this. Long story short, the way that I go about this is, in talking to the Blazers organization, they are trying to tick every single box to make it as available and as simple and accessible as possible. Like, that is, they basically beat me over the head with that. Like, here's what we're doing. Here's how we're doing it. Here's what we want to do. And it's just, they get it. I cannot emphasize enough how much they have heard everyone's cries about not being able to get to games. They are doing everything they can to try to bring it to the people.
Well, I just...
and I understand why people are frustrated. Sorry.
Well, I mean, look, they didn't even need to hear people. They could have just simply looked at numbers. That local markets number got
selfishly, they should want to do this.
50% drop, and you're like, oh, like, we know we're bad, but like, also the Root Plus Sports package being added. You know, the other part too is we celebrate the death of Root locally here, as they still exist in Seattle. You know, I remember when they left NBC Sports Northwest, and I know it's different for you because at the time you were there, so
because it cost me money. Yeah.
Well, no, it did, and I don't mean any disrespect here. No. You've rebounded all right, but like, dude, there were a lot of people that were just as elated and excited about that being the death of them, and then when they went to Root, it was like, this is technically on more televisions, and then streaming kept growing, and then the Root Plus thing happened. So. Bad timing, and then RSNs just in general.
Yeah, it was just bad for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Almost all RSNs, no matter the sport, are just struggling all over. And so it's like, just the timing, it just didn't work out. And so I'm really glad they're off Root. I think the immediate thought when they left NBC was like, okay, great, more households. And then I watched it and I'm like, they're not doing any programming. Like, this is just the Mariners and the Kraken. It's just like, the Blazers game is on tonight, and here's the pre and the post, and we're done. Okay, bye. No specialty programming.
That's another thing that I think that they very much want to dive into.
I would hope that they would. Why would you not?
Yes, and I think that's being a part of, like, and I can't speak for the Trailblazers, but
no, I know.
I'm nearly certain that the lack of promotion and shoulder programming and additional oomph to their stuff was a driving point of getting away from them beyond the distribution limitations.
Aside from us playing the Warriors and Steph Curry and going, where's this channel? Oh, it's on Root Sports Plus HD. And you're like, what's on the other channels? Hockey. And then the other one is hockey. And it's like, this is a rerun of a hockey game.
Yes.
Yeah.
In a market that's 300 miles away.
Right. And so it's just, it's a good day. There's a lot of people that are celebrating this. And I just, wherever the future is, we hope it's far more accessible. At least I think it will be. And then you had the streaming element of it. Yesterday was great. Yesterday was a good day. I think if you're a Blazer fan, we have the schedule we're going to get to here. A little Olympic chatter. Olympics wrapped up. We all watched that. Pretty obvious. But I thought yesterday was just a nice day for Blazer fans to kind of celebrate something, because we all kind of felt the same way, whether we had the channel or not.
I genuinely believe that was one of the most universally accepted positive note days in probably like 5 years.
Yeah.
As crazy as that is, it was nice to have something positive for the first time in a while as it pertains to, like, not getting punched in the face.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. You want to talk about the schedule?
Yeah, I was saying, do you have anything else on the TV stuff?
No, other than I just, I'm looking forward to Blazer Vision being back in my life as an option, or if, they're on one of the local channels, YouTube TV. I only can speak to that because that's what I have. I think most of the streaming platforms have all of the local stuff. So yeah, I'm just pretty excited about the opportunity.
You'll have multiple options to be able to find that. So
exactly.
People ask me when do I expect this to be done? Very soon. Very, very soon.
Yeah.
Okay. They've been right there for a couple weeks. So
okay.
Well, we know they're going to be, we're watching them somewhere else. Now we know who they're playing. As the NBA schedule release came out today, And boy, is it a doozy.
It was nice to walk out. I'm doing hoops camp with my daughter, and so I'm like busy most of the day. I'm not on my phone, and like I get out and it's just like text from you, and then here's some schedule information. This one, you talk about a doozy, man. So you put this out on Twitter, and I think it's just an important part to start. Like obviously we know they're playing the Emirates Cup and all that's going to change kind of the way we feel about this. There's other little notes I want to get to, but you put this out on Twitter. Heike put it in the story. 27 of their first 29 games are against Western Conference teams. 16 of their first 18 are part of 3 games in 4-night stretches, brother. Wow.
And it's not just that they're playing the West. It's that they only play San Antonio and Utah once each in that 27 game stretch. The other 25 are against the playoff teams. And the Memphis Grizzlies, who
are going to be better.
Are going to be a top 4 seed in the West. So
I also think the Spurs are significantly better than you now.
Spurs are going to win 35 to 38 games.
Yeah.
Like Utah is the only game in the first 30 games where I'm like, they could win. Atlanta, maybe. But just going to go through it real quick. They open with the Warriors on opening night. Terry Stotts will be back in the house.
Now he gets, we're doing videos for, who did we do a video? We did a video for Eubanks. We're doing a Terry video,
I think there has to be, because it's technically his first time back in as a visitor. Because he never came back with the Bucks. You
cannot look me square in my eyes as a human being and tell me, yeah, Drew Eubanks definitely deserved it, but Terry Stotts didn't. Like, that's ridiculous. We all know Terry Stotts was a good coach. Yes, there were parts of the internet that hated him, but mostly everybody knew that dude knew how to coach, and he kind of got railroaded at the end.
Yeah, and I hope Terry Bear shows up with a bow tie and leans into it a little bit.
I hope he has a plaid jacket, even though it's blue and yellow. I hope he kind of rocks it.
Like just little nod. An aside, I ran into Terry Bear in Vegas, and he's great. He's doing just fine. So
I would have just looked at him and said, Adrian Griffin, huh?
I left that alone.
Yeah, no, you probably made the right decision.
Yeah, I was, I've heard plenty.
Yeah.
But open with Golden State, and then the home-and-home series against the Pelicans, which maybe you get a motivated, angry Brandon Ingram because he's not getting traded.
Wants his money.
Well, I'll tell you what, nobody else is going to give it to him. That's it's been interesting as it pertains to Jeremy Grant. People talking about, nobody wants him. He's too expensive. Like, no. Nobody wants Brandon Ingram. He's too expensive. I know of at least 3 teams that are interested in Jeremy Grant. So, we've talked about this in the CBA and the ramifications of it. Brandon Ingram and Zach LaVine, those kind of guys who they're good players. I don't think they're ever seeing that kind of money ever again.
Would you be willing, I know it's chatter, and I don't know if we've brought it up, maybe we have, but I have seen the internet throw out the idea that New Orleans loves Ayton.
Not in a million years would I swap those two.
Not for a first, knowing you're not re-signing him? Yeah, I'm not really in on it either.
Giving Brandon Ingram $50 million is... You might as well just...
No, you wouldn't sign him. You'd be trading Ayton for basically a first because you know you're not signing Ingram. That would make no sense with what you're doing.
Yeah. That'd be tough. It would depend on the first. Like, if it's just if it's New Orleans' first, I have to go look at their draft capital. But, like, if it's their first, I'm like, so what is that? Maybe a late lottery pick? Yeah, if
things go their way.
If they're healthy, they're probably not, but they're never healthy.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think so.
Also, can I ask you, is it stupid to wonder, we're not doing the CJ celebration thing anymore, right? Like, we got that out. We're good. Okay. Just want to make sure.
Probably not starting this year. So no.
Well, I just think there's levels to getting multiple ovations and videos.
Dame LaMarcus, when they started swinging back around LaMarcus, okay. Yeah. Hall of Famers or near Hall of Famers, totally fine.
Make an all-star game.
Yeah. But then they go on the road, take on the Sacramento Kings and the Clippers, then OKC, and then a 4-gamer with Phoenix, New Orleans, San Antonio, Minnesota. So they play New Orleans 3 times in the first 8 games.
Yeah.
And then they play New Orleans 3 times in the first 8 games, and they play Minnesota 3 times in 4 games. At Minnesota, and then they take on Memphis, and then Minnesota twice at home.
That is so you're at, I mean, dude, you could be looking at November 1st if we were to just play the honesty game here. So from November 1st until November 17th, you might not win a game till you play the Hawks at home on November 17th. I mean, it could be Minnesota, Memphis.
From opening night to October 23rd until November 17th, you might go a month without winning.
Now, here's my only pushback to it, because we certainly agree on what they are, especially in that conference.
Mm-hmm. You can catch a team that's injured. You can catch a team on the right night. You can catch a team just not ready on the season. There's a million things that go wrong.
They specialize in kind of having these surprise things where people go, oh, my God, maybe they're actually more of a contender than we thought. And you haven't traded Jeremy. You haven't so far traded Ant. You've got
I will say this real quick. I'm going to stop you there on the trade stuff.
Sure.
As of right now, I believe things are done.
Okay, so this is who they are.
There's going to be some changes in the Exhibit 10 guys, some camp guys.
Sure.
But otherwise, who they have right now, unless somebody goes in and pushes the nuclear button, which from who I've talked to, that's not something that's happening right now. Who they have right now is who they're going into the season with.
The only one would be Ant. Ant just showed up at a lemonade day or something. Like, I don't think Ant's...
He just had his camp at the Hoop on Saturday. So, So
here was my only pushback. Like, that's brutal. I don't think they get out of it very successfully, but like maybe a slightly better start despite what that schedule is, just because your starting lineup's going to be, you're going to have Ant out there. Jeremy should be out there. DA will be out there. Denny will be out there. Like, they're not the greatest group, those 4, but those aren't bums. Those are dudes that like other teams would love to have on their roster. And so their depth will hurt them. Again, they won't win the vast majority of those games. I just wonder if like, they start slightly better because of what you said, like teams kind of reacclimating. Oh, it's the Blazers. Let's take it a little. The Blazers are kicking our ass right now. Like that happens early in the season.
Let me pitch this to you.
Yeah.
Your starting lineup on opening night: Anthony Simons, Shaedon Sharpe, Denny Avdia, Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton. Let's say Ant plays 32 minutes a night, Shaedon plays 30 minutes a night, Denny plays 32 to 34, Jeremy plays 30, DA plays 28 to 30. Okay.
Okay.
Those guys are going to go out there and figure things out and be, I think, a positive contributor. I think Chauncey, likes to go 9 more than anything, but I think they might go 10 deep. And I think you might see like everyone sans Shaedon old guy lineup that you see there in the starting group.
Sure.
And then I think you might see stagger into what turns into the young guy group, which
the
is
baby Blazers. Yeah.
Scoot and either Ant or Scoot and Shaedon. I think one of those guys has to be out there to balance out the floor. But then it's Tumani and then Donovan and then whatever wing is showing out. If it's Jabari, if it's Chris, if it's Roops takes a big Nick Batum training camp run, whoever.
What's Rob Will's status?
And that's the thing is, as of right now, those guys have been most of the guys are in town right now. Shea, Scoot, Ant, Chris. I think Donovan's going back and forth, still getting settled in. Like, I think most guys are back in town. And honestly, in about a week, 10 days, everyone will be back in town.
Yeah.
And then they'll start ramping up their unofficial, because usually about a week before Labor Day is when everybody gets into town and starts doing the, hey, coaches aren't here, but we're running stuff, type runs.
Yeah.
But I know the young guys are already in there. I think all of the guys on the team that have less than like 3 years of experience and Ant are already in town. So they're already kind of getting acclimated. But I say all of this to say, would it surprise you if I said that starting lineup had like a positive net rating of like 4, but like that second group, that young group, was like a -12, and that
Not
was
at
just.
all.
But that's kind of how the season went. Like when the starting group's out there, or 4 of the 5 starters are out there, they're functional. They may even be kind of good.
Yeah.
But the second they get into like the less than 3 years experience lineup, that's where they kind of crash. And I think that's where you kind of focus on the development. So And I say all that because I think it's easier to sell to guys like Ant, Jeremy, DA, and even Denny to an extent that have been, or not Denny who hasn't been here, but guys that are a little more veteran of like, hey, we want you to sacrifice your careers so you can bring these young guys along, because that's not how the league works.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you put those guys together, I think it softens the blow of what is going to be a difficult season. Does that sound?
No, it
on
does.
par?
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm not trying to suggest they're going to win 10 of those first whatever.
Honestly, if they win 10 of 30, it would be a shock.
I could see them winning a couple. We go, man, how about that tonight, huh? Like, who saw that coming? That almost always happens.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But I also think those other guys, could they have a positive net rate? Absolutely. I kind of would hope that they would, given the talent and the experience of those groups.
Yeah.
I know those other 5-man lineups they're going to face are not easy either, but I think they all of them understand like what this is. Hey, we're not good, but you guys have opportunities to all be really good. And we all kind of get what we want out of this deal. Like Jeremy, I brought this up with Richmond because you and I have both now done hits with the homie. And it's not to question him as a like that dude seems very happy. He loves it here. He's taking pictures at Taquerias. He got his contract. Like by all accounts, he wants to stay here because he likes being in Portland. It's his vibe. I love that. I also could see the other side from the sports fan and say, this guy's just cool being there, just what that team is at this point of his career. And so like, I think there's a lot of that maybe with these guys until we hear otherwise of we're going to go be who we are. And yeah, we're probably going to blow this lead, or yeah, we'll probably be down double digits when we get back in.
Yeah. Those guys in particular, Ant and Grant, they have young kids that they just had. And with Jeremy, I think he's got another one on the way now. They're not in any hurry to be disrupted like during the season.
No,
you know
that sucks
like,
for families.
Yeah. And so like, if they're going to make a move, like, if the Lakers come and they switch up their offer and 2 firsts gets thrown down, could I see Jeremy being traded at the deadline? Absolutely, unequivocally, yes. But also, I think Jeremy would be very well aware and understanding it's LA. It's a little bit easier to deal with. It's a hop, skip, and a jump. It's an hour and a half flight when you're flying with a PJ.
Sure.
I think it's those are easy things to figure out. But as it pertains to the schedule, like that first 30 games, winning 10 would be shocking. Like in those first 30 games, nights where I'm like, that's maybe a win. Outside of Atlanta, you've got, again, Memphis, Houston, Utah are the only other teams that did not make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Houston's going to be better. They're probably not going to make the playoffs still. If they won 38 games, would that surprise you?
No.
Okay. So Utah's the one bad team in here. That's it. And you play them twice in 30 games. Buddy. I don't think you have to worry about winning too many games.
No. Again, I don't want to suggest that I'm worried. I also wouldn't be stunned if they beat Golden State to start the year.
Sure. You know what? Have fun because it's going to suck down the stretch.
Oh, I know. It's going to be terrible. The Clippers, is Kawhi ever going to play? Like, I don't know what he's going to play. Phoenix, they seem like they're a disaster the minute things go wrong. Like, I could see a couple wins here and there, given the talent that is staying on the roster, according to you, up to this point, going into the year. And that's a lot of experience.
Yeah, and what's interesting, as much as the Blazers are front-loaded against the Western Conference in the front half of the schedule, or front third of the schedule, that means it's also really easy on the back end. According to the good homie, Positive Residual on Twitter, you can use his app. Let me pull it back up. I had it up and I closed the server. I believe the Trailblazers have the most difficult strength of schedule. Blazers, Clippers, Rockets, Suns, Nets. When you're a bad team, you are adjusted down, so therefore you will have a worse schedule. But also down here are the Clippers, Suns, Pelicans, Warriors. So they're also in that same range. The Blazers have 11 positive rest days, which puts them in the upper third, and 9 rest disadvantage days, which puts them in the lower third.
Yeah.
So even with being better on positive rest days and better on rest negative days, they still have the toughest schedule in the league as it sits today. It's because they have to travel the most distance, and the back-to-backs that they have, or the 3 and 4s that they have, are staggered more difficultly. But, and here's, I don't know if you notice this part of the schedule. When I say this, what pops into your head when I say these teams?
Okay.
Charlotte, Utah, Washington, Brooklyn.
Oh, what pops in my head is probably something I was about to bring up. Tank off, baby.
I'll say it.
It's going to
I'll
be
say
a
it so it
tank
can
off.
get snipped. It's the great suck off of 2024.
We
2025.
We talked about this at our Fan Golf Classic, and I'm like, yo, there might be 9 teams that are all in on just being that absolute worst.
Did you see the article? The 9 teams that are going to be like the most into flag? The Blazers and the Nets were the 2 teams.
Yes, we are the most. I mean, look, it's not just us, but like we're at the top of any conversation of like who's most obvious in on Cooper Flag. Portland, Oregon, USA, as Kevin Clapper would like to say.
Yes,
it's going to be a tank off, and that's why I was like, hopefully the start. And this sounds awful to say out loud. I hope they don't win a game until November, to be honest with you, because it's that back end, it's that February, it's that March. I'm seeing some Washington. I'm seeing some Charlotte. I'm seeing Detroit. I'm seeing Toronto. I'm seeing Washington again. I'm like, these games, Daniel, unless they're shut down with injuries or traded, these games are not going to be easy, man. It's going to be like, who is way worse? All right, let's find out tonight.
And so that is that 7-game road trip. It starts with a home game on February 22nd. So this is after the trade deadline.
Yeah.
At Utah, at home against Charlotte, then at Utah, at Washington, at Brooklyn, at Cleveland, at Philly, at Boston, at OKC. Woo! So you have the 4 tanking teams that you face off against, and then Cleveland, Philly, Boston, OKC. And then you come home and you play Detroit. So you play the 5 teams that you're probably fighting for the most in that positioning.
Oh, God. Now I'm nervous. I'm like, are we going to...
That alone might be interesting. You know what I mean? Like, who could... What's that stupid game show they make fun of? Oh, God, they have like a Japanese game show on like Family Guy. It's Who Poop Last.
Oh, dude, it's the Japanese game shows where you're just trying to mess people up.
That's what this feels like.
Yes,
it's like
we're gonna be contestants watching that.
Who sucks most?
Right. Give me the most random Portland remix player you can think of. What was the kid in the summer league team? The Asian dude. What was his name?
Jackie Hui.
Jackie Way. Like, Jackie Way might be our starting 2-guard at that point. You know what? I'm not mad at it. I totally get it. We got a guy to get.
They did sign a 10-day Henry Drell. Or it's not a 10-day, Exhibit 10, sorry.
Okay.
Which I think they've made public. I'm almost certain they've made public. If not, there you go. Yeah.
Yes.
Also, I believe Jackie is no longer on the roster. So I think he's picking up a 2-way with another team. So you'll have
that's
to find,
disappointing. I really like watching him.
You'll have to find another Exhibit 10 guy.
I'll find a different way to enjoy those games.
But you also end the season with another 5-game road trip before San Antonio at Utah. So
see, can I ask you,
and then Golden State, LA.
What did you make? So Lowry being traded was like the biggest talking point for a while there. And then eventually Danny Ainge was like, I refuse to lose any trade. So they signed him to the max.
Well, they were never going to trade him unless the Warriors gave them everything. And the Warriors were like, well, we'll give you stuff that you don't like, which is what the Warriors do. They never trade anything that matters.
But like, what is Utah?
Utah is sitting there biding their time until a superstar shakes free or they land a star in the draft. And what they will do is they will Blazers this thing. The last 2 years they just
signed a guy to a superstar contract.
Look, they still need the other guy. But in the meantime, they're going to develop some guys, and it's kind of Blazer-esque, but like a slightly different approach, I think, because it's more draft-centric focused, but it's also like other people's draft picks, so they don't control it as much.
Mm-hmm.
They've been like in that 7 through 10 draft range. Now, if you hit home runs in that spot, great. But also, like, they just weren't able to get it there because they wanted to flirt with other things. Look, I've reported it so many times at this point. The Utah Jazz chased after Drew Holiday when the Blazers traded for him. I have that down to the nails factually. He was not going to extend with the Jazz, which is why that didn't happen, okay? Or beyond another reason why that didn't happen. Their hope was, hey, we can have Drew Holiday. We have got Lauri Markkanen. If things go sideways in Dallas, Luka Doncic could shake free, and we have all of this draft capital and a bunch of young players. Mm-hmm. And if he demands out, Luka, Drew, Lowry, woo buddy, that's a hell of a team. You start figuring stuff out real quick, you know? So, and this is Danny Ainge. This is what Danny Ainge does.
That's also a hell of a lot to be trying to like kind of, not that it was your first option, but like for Danny, that's a lot to be banking on. Like
they don't bank on it. They bank on scenarios popping
Sure.
up and them being able to capitalize.
But like Luka, to me, I don't know. Maybe I'm not Danny
I
Ainge.
would say a year ago, there was genuine fear about.
Yeah, they missed the playoffs. They were a disappointment. Yeah.
And remember, they tanked the last game of the season to get Lively.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yep.
it ended up being the
But
right
they got
call.
Lively out
But
of
look,
that.
again, it ended up being the right call. And it honestly, it saved their ass.
Yeah.
But like, that's the adjustments that you make. Like, hey, you have to be ready to make those type of calls. And I think that's the Jazz are there. It feels like they're backing off that ledge now because they don't have to worry about Lowry's contract anymore. And let's say they are objectively bad day one last year. And
Sure.
Lowry's like, I don't want to resign here, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't want to go through this. But if you're kind of in it and you feature him and he's happy and his family's happy, then you kind of tank it at the end. It's a little bit easier pill to swallow. There's just so much, like, there's so many stupid little things that go into this that I think fans
Things are out of your control.
Yeah, and I think fans in general are like, no, it's easy. You just do this. It's like, well, no, you're dealing with 15 humans who have varying interests and thoughts and principles and massive egos, not only on the player side, but on the front office side and in ownership.
Right.
There's just so much crap to sort through. You can't just do that. Unless you're the Spurs and you're like, what do they call it, a hive mind.
Right, right. Yeah,
So-
it's going to be fascinating, especially at the end of the year when they start going on the big road trip. You get some more bad teams kind of more leaning into the tank because like, we can't compete. We're not very good. And you know what? You just don't know with injuries too. Like that's the biggest wild card of all this stuff is like, we can look at schedules. We can play all the records, this, records that. We can do the Francesa win. It's a loss. It's a loss. It's a win.
Oh, I'm going to do that after the pod tonight.
I bet you will because you're a disgusting person. But if God forbid one of the star players on one of the best West teams or one of the West teams that's kind of competing.
Grizzlies this.
I mean, LA's in this because of the Bronze Age, right? Like Phoenix, like there are teams that like if things happen, and I don't want those to happen, but if they do, that also changes kind of some of the math on some of that stuff. So the schedule, I thought it was brutal. I took note of when Dame's coming back. It's January. Terry getting his welcome back. I care a lot about that. I hope Dame plays in that game, and I hope Brook Lopez stops ball hogging and gives Dame a shot to shoot a game winner and doesn't rob us of a great moment potentially. But that's kind of it generally, because at this point, like, there's only so much schedule stuff you can get to.
I'll wrap the schedule stuff up with this. Having seen the schedule, the over-under total at 22.5, it's bumped up. What would you take, knowing the schedule now?
I'm not long hammer. I'm hammering the under.
Okay. I'm not asking you to put the house on this. I'm just, gut
I'd
feel.
put a good bet on it. I'd put a good size bet. I would put the house on it.
I would not have touched this line without the schedule. With the schedule, I'm taking the under because they will not win as many early season games.
Yeah. No, that first 30 game stretch is just devastating.
So
It's just something to handicap you right at the
yeah,
knees. So you and I probably equally watched the Olympics. I didn't think it was a very warm take, but and I don't ever mean to offend people. I have I said this on my show that like I don't know when the last time in my life I like genuinely was sitting on my couch and like I was throwing up patriotism. I was just like,
yeah, yeah,
ugh.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I went and threw my blues back on.
Well, but you served, right? Like you're somebody who has put yourself
Sure.
in a sacrificial situation. I haven't, and I have a lot of people in my family that have served, and it's not a lack of respect. It's just like I don't walk around with a flag on my truck. I'm not like Mr. I'm biggest patriot there is, man. Like I'm not that guy. And like watching them come back to beat Serbia, I was on my couch. I you not. I'm just like, that's what we do in America.
Da, 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 da.
I
no, 100%.
not expect that to happen. And
I said things that I can't repeat here to France when Steph started bombing threes.
Dude, I know. We were at a family reunion for my in-laws, so we're at a Vietnamese family reunion, and me and my brother.
They love the French too.
No, they didn't that day, and we had it on, and man, we were going nuts. And then like we looked behind us, the whole family was behind us, all watching this. Steph hits that crazy 3 over Nico, and I'm just like, you Statue of Liberty builder, motherfucker. I'm just like going crazy, man. That was such a fun Olympics for me. I really enjoyed it. It took me back. I loved 08. There's always years you remember in moments. 96 was a special year for me because I spent it with my grandma in Oklahoma. And everything about the 96 Olympics is just, it's the prime of my youth. I was like starting to understand and follow things more in my life. And so it was one of the more special Olympic moments I've ever been able to watch.
Yeah, I would agree. It was pretty awesome. Like, I may have repeated CJ McCollum's line about being soft as the crepes that you eat. with a lot of profanity thrown in between.
I hated that guy that day. I mean, I don't like him, but I already hated him, man. I was so mad.
Who? Fournier?
Yeah, I never liked Evan Fournier. No. Like he's out there hitting threes, and I'm like, damn it, that was a good shot. I hate this guy. If the
French were hitting threes in that game like they could have,
they might have won.
That game might have been a problem. I say all of this. It was so much fun. The whole Olympics, particularly for basketball. Don't get used to it.
Oh, I'm not.
The
I
world,
know.
Like, I don't know.
The world's caught up.
I don't know if you've noticed. Serbia and France weren't just happy to be there. They were pissed they lost because they could have won. Both teams could and probably should have won those games.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested to see what Team USA does going forward because no Steph, no KD, no Braun next cycle. Who's the star? And everybody's like, oh, it's Ant. I'm like, yeah, that was the same guy who said he was the number one option, and then boy, was he bad.
They couldn't play him in the last 2 games.
Oof. Tatum was atrocious, and he's not coming back.
He's not the MVP of his own team, so.
No. Honestly, if they're going to bring somebody, they should kiss Jalen's ass and bring him.
I think Jalen's in. I think Jalen wants to do it. I think Jalen's one of those dudes.
You think so after getting snubbed?
See, did you view that as I viewed it as he was injured.
No, he was good. He could have played.
Yeah. Okay. I still think they can convince him. I mean, look, there are things you can do. It's 4 years from now. Like, I'm not even convinced Tatum's not going to be on the team, to be honest with you. If you get Jalen on it and Jason and Jalen are still together, like, that could be a fun thing for them, right? They just won a championship. I think what's interesting
as good as those guys are, though, Brandon.
I know.
Who you're talking about Steph, Braun, KD. Steph and Braun, you can make a case for Braun being the greatest player of all time. I'm not going to argue with Jordan folks over that. Like, it depends on what day it is which one I have number one.
100%.
Steph is another top 10 player in the history of the NBA. I think he's higher than Kobe for me now.
I mean, his reach isn't just like what his game. It's like
his impact on. Yeah, exactly. And
KD is a top 20 player easy.
Well, he's the best scorer in the history of the NBA. In my mind.
Technically, that's LeBron.
Well, You know what I mean? He's a
Yes.
nearly career 50, 40, 90 shooter.
Easy money sniper. Yes.
Like this,
Yeah.
this is. It does not matter at the rim,
That
in the
Serbia
mid-range,
jump
at
shot.
the,
My God. My God. There was nothing you could do there.
No, and there's nothing. Victor Wembanyama at his best is the only player on the planet that can actively defend that man.
Well,
That's
Victor
it.
was also like, enjoy this one. Because like just like the decoy, he's like,
I was
I'm
just
not,
gonna say,
not winning again.
I loved his response.
Me too.
Enjoy this. I'm just now learning.
Yep.
Be ready for me next time around.
Well, but isn't this a league problem? This isn't just an Olympics problem. This is like Steph, KD, LeBron. Like we've seen the ratings. It matters. Like you can hate these guys or
Wemby's
whatever.
the one.
Well, I hope Wemby's the one.
He's the face of the league, and they need to make the transition. Look, if you want to have the Braun goodbye, Steph goodbye year, fine. Whatever. You need to embrace international. Stop ducking Jokic. Stop ducking Giannis. Stop ducking Luka. Embrace the international guys because they're carrying. SGA. Like, look, I want the American-born star. I want Coop to be him. I want Ace to be him. I want Dylan to be him. All those things. AJ DeBonsa, like those guys in the Cam Boozer, those guys all coming up. That group, great. But as of right now, the only player drafted in the last 2 years and being drafted this year, there are 2 players that have a chance to be on the next Olympic team for the men. That's Chet Holmgren and Cooper Flagg.
Yes. Which kind of leads you to wonder, they're going to need a big body.
Yes.
If Joel doesn't come back to play in the Olympics or he goes and plays for fill-in-the-blank country, is our guy, do we have a guy on the team who like defensively makes a little sense here with the clinger?
I have had this discussion with probably a dozen people now.
Getting ahead of ourselves, I know, but
I'm just looking at the way things are shaping up.
Mm-hmm.
There's a pretty likely chance that Dan Hurley is a guy that moves over to Team USA as an assistant coach. That role has been Jay Wright, Mike Krzyzewski, Mark Few. It has been like the best college coach or one of the best college coaches in the country. If all of a sudden Danny Hurley is on the assistant staff and you need because think about Team USA's bigs right now. There is not a big body outside of Derek Lively. That's it.
No, because Chet's so skinny.
Evan Mobley, skinny.
Like
all these guys are skinny. They're not, as much as the game is going that direction. I think Shaden has a pretty good chance of being on Canada's roster. I think I might give the nod to Donovan of making Team USA. Of all the players currently on the roster, with obviously Denny for Israel, not being discounted. I genuinely think Donovan might be the most likely candidate currently on the roster to play for an Olympic team.
Well, and it's also like, I wouldn't be shocked if he got Joel Tatum type minutes too, right? Like some countries it makes sense to play him, and others it's like,
it's entirely rotational.
Still young, and he's not going to play hardly ever. Just depends on the matchup. But like, you do go down the list, and it just kind of makes sense, at least looking from the outside in. It just depends on how well he plays.
Think Tyson Chandler on the Olympic team. That's
right.
Like that. That's the role that I see him playing.
Right.
Think about this. Richmond and I brought it up on his pod. That actually might have been the one from yesterday. It might be from tomorrow. I can't remember.
What do you record for an hour and a half and then he just makes 3 of them?
No way. I may have kept him longer. I think I went like an hour 50.
What I love is we do taping and we'll like, he'll take a break and then I'm back and I'm wearing the same clothes.
Oh yeah. I almost brought it up. I was like, look, and we're wearing the same thing. Day 3.
I love this shirt.
That's great. But we brought it up in the whole, I can't even remember where the hell I was going with this now. God dang it.
Tyson, big bodies, guys in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Donovan.
Lost it. It's been a while since
you mentioned Tyson. Like, if Evan can gain weight, he's,
I don't.
It's not like Tyson was this stacked dude.
No, but
tall, lengthy guy.
I've followed Evan for quite some time. I don't see it. But the other cool thing we have coming up here very, very soon is college basketball is going to be back, and on the Jack Ramsays Patreon, I think this weekend it's going to go live, or maybe Monday. I'm going to, because we know what the season is going to be, I'm going to start draft evaluation stuff very soon.
Yeah.
Because the poop for Coop, capturing the flag, whether it's Ace, Dylan,
Ace the Tank.
Yep, VJ, Nolan, whoever it ends up being.
Yeah.
This draft class is so much better than the last class.
Not even close. Did you see what Trae Young said?
What'd he say?
He went on Paul P's Eddie Basic or PG's podcast, and he basically was like, he called him out by name too. He was like, "There's no stars in this draft. Like these guys, all these guys were just drafted. They're role guys." And he's like, "Maybe Sar's better than we think, but like." He just called him. He flat out was just like, they're role guys. And he called him out name by name.
His own teammate.
Including his own teammate. He's like, these are all just role guys, man. And I'm just like, whoa, this dude does not care.
No way. Shocking. Another reason why Trae Young's teammates don't like him. Wow. So.
Well, the Olympic stuff will be fun to cover, man.
And look, being that it's on home soil and it's on the West Coast, I'm telling you right now, Donovan makes that team. I will go.
Oh, the family and I are already talking about it because Caitlin and Angel will be on the women's team for sure. So, like,
Juju
the fact that we might not be the favorite. What?
No, the women's team. No, it'll have Juju, Caitlin.
No.
Angel.
I'm saying the women's team will be loaded.
Oh, it might be one of the best women's teams we've ever seen.
And the men will be a question mark if they're favored.
The
women struggled this year. So
yeah, I legitimately think going into this next cycle, gun to my head, I think right now USA is the favorite. If Nolan Traore is that dude, which I'm very high on him, I raved about him during Hoop Summit, because they need a point guard who can get Wemby the ball. Because that didn't happen in that game. And if they have a point guard who can get him the ball and unlocks him, all bets are off. France becomes insane to deal with, and then they become kind of the favorite. So, you got anything else?
No, man. I have to.
You got to go camp.
Don't get me started. Let's just,
It's funny. I was literally over at my parents packing them up to go camping because they're leaving as well. So, I'm like, well, I guess screw me. I guess I don't get to go camping. So,
who wants a beach house?
Right.
Why would you ever want that? I don't know.
No, it's terrible. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate you. We love you. I'll have more news on the TV stuff as things tend to lock back down. Schedule's out. There's a couple other little things. I mentioned it. Oh, that's what it was. I mentioned it on Richmond's Paw, and I'll mention it here. The little news and note, and this is probably going to come out in the next week or so, maybe a little bit longer. The Blazers have made some changes to their medical staff. Just too many of those core injuries, and they changed some stuff up. Even if it wasn't necessarily related to them, it's just kind of
you kind of have to do something to shake it up.
Yeah, you just had to do something. So expect that announcement here soon. Trying to think if there's anything else that came out of that. I think that's about it. So, thank you all for being here. We appreciate you. Like, rate, review, subscribe, share it to your friends. It's the summer. Go out and share the ethos of the podcast, whatever that is.
Are you okay? Are you struggling here? Do you want me to
I was trying to think of the right word. I just couldn't find it. Proselytize was what I was going to go with. Speak it from the Temple Mount. The parables of the Jack Ramsays. But no, go out and have fun. We appreciate you. We will catch you guys on the next show, probably next week. Unfortunately, I had a internet outage on Monday, and I lost about 6 hours worth of film work on Denny. So I have to rebuild it, unfortunately.
Brutal.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled about my system not saving that. But I will have that out when I get to it and finish it because I'm angry about it and I don't want to start it over again. But you can find us on social media at Danny Marang, at Brandon Sprague, at Jack Ramsays. Email the show, jackramsays@gmail.com. I'd say you can catch Brandon on the radio, but you can't. You can catch me on the radio noon to 3 tomorrow with Danny and Dusty, my co-host Dusty Hera. Other than that, take care, you filthy, filthy heathens. We love you. Talk soon. Bye.